In Thailand, dozens of people died after a warehouse containing pyrotechnics exploded.
Authorities say a welding error during construction on the building caused the blast. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Larong Pinoy Exhibition Games kick-off at the 2023 Palarong Pambansa in Marikina City. The Philippines and the European Union reaffirmed their bilateral ties. African leaders join proposal floats as a basis to resolve the Ukraine conflict. Dozens died from an explosion in Pakistan at a political rally. And fans during Taylor Swift's Eras Tour cause a magnitude 3.2 swift quake to erupt. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. establishes the Interagency Council for the Pasig River Urban Development to address the urgent need for rehabilitating and improving the along. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin signs Executive Order Number 35, which entrusts the Interagency Council with the responsibility of facilitating and ensuring full rehabilitation.
The Land Transportation Office, or LTO, announced the issuance of a 60-day memo for new license plates for vehicle owners. LTO Chairman Vigor Mendoza II said that they will release a memo to regional directors this week. The memo sets to deliver the license plates to consumers within the next 60 days. The Commission on Audit reports that 1.79 million pairs of license plates, accounting for 800 million pesos, remain unclaimed. Mendoza added that these are the replacement plates paid for by car owners upon their renewal, and some were unclaimed plates for motorcycles. The LTO chief emphasizes that some license plates are stuck with the dealers of said vehicles. Senator Francis Tolentino suggests the cancellation of the certificate of registration for those who will not follow the memo. The Department of Transportation launched a website to help vehicle owners to track their new license plates. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declares August 8 to 14 of every year as Philippine Space Week to promote space awareness among Filipinos. Proclamation 302 highlights the substantial impact of space and science and technology applications on the country's socio-economic development. The Philippine Space Week also aims to celebrate the significant contributions of Filipinos worldwide in the field of space science, emphasizing the value and benefits of space science and technology on Filipino lives. The Philippine Space Agency is directed to spearhead the observance of the week-long event and identify program, projects, and activities for its yearly celebration. The Japanese Embassy in the Philippines announces that 64 Filipino Assistant Language Teachers, ALTs, have secured spots in the Japan Exchange and Teaching, or JET, program and will be flying to Tokyo this year. Japanese ambassador to the Philippines, Kazuhiko Koshikawa, expresses hope to continue the positive trend as the number of Filipino JET participants has returned to pre-pandemic levels. This indicates a strong demand for Filipino ALTs in Japan and the program's high popularity in the Philippines. The JET program aims to foster mutual trust and internationalization, with participants becoming cultural ambassadors bridging Japan and their home countries. Portugal has laid its eyes to collaborate with the Philippines on green transition and renewable energy. Julian Bunag has the details.
Foreign Affairs Chief Enrique Manalo welcomes Portuguese Foreign Minister João Gomes Cravinho during his official visit to Manila. The two top diplomats held talks during the third Philippines-Portugal political consultation last 2019. The Portuguese official paves the way to open collaboration as he unveils Lisbon's interest in cooperating with Manila in terms of renewable energy. Cravinho reaffirms the two nations' bilateral ties, citing other opportunities in boosting collaboration on digital transition, defense, education, maritime cooperation, tourism, and agriculture. He also extends Portugal's support for the United Nations conventions on the laws of the sea, or UNCLOS, based on arbitral award on the West Philippine Sea. Meanwhile, the Foreign Affairs Chief agrees with Cravinho as the two nations establish a collaboration on strengthening food security and energy cooperation. Philippines and Portugal formally established their diplomatic relations on July 4, 1946, while in 2002, the two states formally inked an agreement to bolster cultural ties and promote investments. Julian Bunag reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen meet for a bilateral meeting, marking the first ever visit of an EU Commission President to the Philippines. Elijah Villanueva tells us more.
Today, I'm here to accelerate a new era of cooperation between us. We share so many values and interests.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen commit to expanding trade and fostering cooperation on climate change, maritime security, and the green economy. President Marcos highlights the revitalization of trade between the two regions and the initiation of scoping exercises for a Philippines-EU free trade agreement. The EU pledges 60 million euros to a green economy program to support renewable energy and other industries in the Philippines. President Marcos acknowledges the EU's support for the Bangsamoro peace process and the recognition of STCW certificates benefiting over 50,000 Filipino seafarers on EU-flagged vessels.
That this be a new beginning for the strengthening and the deepening of all our ties with the EU and the Philippines.
EU Ambassador to the Philippines Luc Ferron also announces 500,000 euros or 30 million pesos in humanitarian assistance to support families affected by Typhoon Doksuri. The aid will focus on heavily affected families and communities in northern Luzon, where the typhoon made landfall. Elijah Villanueva for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Pagasa spots the eye of Typhoon Kanun at 1,045 kilometers east of extreme northern Luzon as of 5 p.m. Kanun is moving north-northwest at 15 kilometers per hour with maximum sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour near the center with gustiness of up to 185 kilometers per hour. The State Weather Bureau has yet to raise a storm wind signal in the part of the country. Meanwhile, Pagasa notes that the southwest monsoon enhanced by Kanun will bring rains over the western portion of Luzon in the 3 days. The weather agency forecasts that Kanun may reach its peak intensity by tomorrow or on President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. establishes the Interagency Council for the Pasig River Urban Development to address the urgent need for rehabilitating and improving the quality of life along the banks of the Pasig River. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin signs Executive Order Number 35, which entrusts the Interagency Council with the responsibility of facilitating and ensuring the full rehabilitation of the Pasig River water system and nearby water systems. The council will be chaired by the Secretary of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development and vice-chaired by the MMDA chairman, and further includes 13 other member agencies. They must ensure compliance with easements provided under RA 386 and other relevant laws, and prepare a shelter plan for the relocation of informal settlers. Motorists will expect a fuel price hike from August 1 to 7. Petron says it will implement a 3 pesos and 50 centavos per liter markup to diesel. Meanwhile, its gasoline price will go up by 2 pesos and 10 centavos per liter, while kerosene price per liter will jump by 3 pesos and 25 centavos. In the past 2 weeks, oil firms implemented hefty markup in fuel products, reaching about 2 pesos per liter. Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri announces his plan to file a resolution on Monday, recommending the termination of bilateral talks with China, denouncing their harassment of Filipino vessels in the West Philippine Sea. The resolution aims to express the Senate's condemnation of China's incursions into Philippine waters and their disregard for the Hague ruling that invalidated their claim over the West Philippine Sea. Although the Senate can give its opinion and suggestions, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. states that the country's foreign policy is primarily defined by the executive branch. Zubiri concurs with the president's statement. His resolution will provide the government with more options to address Chinese harassment aside from the proposed UNGA resolution. Coming up, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky issues a warning directed towards Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin hails the African leader's efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And President Joe Biden signs an order shaking up U.S. military procedures. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
Portion.
Huwag ninyo para mas maunawaan ang usaping ito.
Pag-usapan natin Bulaga.
Dumating din si Mr. Tobiera, si Tony Tobiera. At doon, inisip niya na i-offer sa amin ang isang noontime program.
So, in short, natanggap namin si
Tuloy.
Tobiera. Nagkaroon na show. May Bulaga na.
Matagal nang sinasabi na ginagawa dapat ng DPWH yan. Nabawasan na ba ang kalidad ng mga programa at pelikulang gawa ng Pinoy? Sa tingin mo ba, mas okay bang negosyo na lang kaysa mamasukan? Check tayo dyan. Check tayo dyan. Check tayo dyan. Mag-reality check tayo.
Oy, congrats to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bago mong show, bago mong bahay, Net 25, the best.
Aba, siyempre, hindi ako pwedeng kumiwalay sa inyo.
Ang Best Public Affairs Program. And the star goes to Open for Business, Net 25.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Dito sa ASPN, siguradong sagot namin ang mga impormasyong kailangan ninyong malaman sa araw-araw.
Official nang bukas sa mga motorista ang NLEX connector.
Meron ba talagang alitan ang pamilyang Degamo laban po sa Teves?
Our families have gone a long way, no? Ang una talagang kasama or alay ni Governor Degamo is ako at yung lolo ko.
Nagtala ng maximum heat index.
Nagsara po kahapon, April 3. Nako, bagyang humina po ang piso. Kami na din ni Ali ang bahala sa pagsiyasat sa mga isyong kinakaharap ng bansa.
Kung makita nila na meron namang sufficient basis, ay pwede silang magpa-issue sa International Criminal Court ng warrant of arrest.
He was looking to grade, binaon talaga siya, inilibing. Your question.
So 12 years, I have done my part, Benson, and I know you are proud of me. In spite of the odds.
Samahan nyo kami, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Dito lang yan sa Net 25!
Sa buhay, minsan lang dumating ang taong masasabi mong tunay na kaibigan.
Yep! At kapag siya'y natagpuan na, huwag mo nang pakawalan.
Ang tunay na kaibigan, laging nandyan kahit kailan.
Handang gawin ang lahat. Maging happy ka lang.
Gagawin ang April Song! Para sa'yo, para sa pamilya, at para sa bayan.
Tulad na lang ng inyong mga bagong kaibigan.
Tuwing umaga,
love,
Tunipet, and everything! Lunes hanggang Biyernes,
6:30 ng umaga
sa Net 25! Let's net together! Love Tunipet and everything! Love Tunipet and
We now welcome you back to Matanang Agila International. Thousands of Chinese evacuated from flood-prone areas of Beijing as Typhoon Doksuri hits the capital with heavy rain. 27,000 people in high-risk areas have been evacuated, while 20,000 were relocated to the province of Hebei. Residents within the affected area are advised to stay indoors due to inclement weather conditions. Officials warn the public of widespread floods, swelling rivers, mudslides, and landslides. China Weather Service issued a red alert to 22 million people in Beijing and 14 million in Tianjin. That includes the province of Hebei, Shanxi, Shandong, and Henan. The Ministry of Water Resources raised flood warnings after some rivers reached normal water levels. In Bangladesh, clashes between police and supporters of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP, escalates with tear gas and rubber bullets being used as protesters block major roads. The BNP is demanding Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation and calls for the next election in January of 2024 to be held under a neutral caretaker government. Tens of thousands of demonstrators take to the streets in a huge protest in support of BNP's demands. BNP accuses the current government of vote rigging in previous elections, further claiming that the current government is to be blamed for the worsening economic crisis, rising inflation, and cost of living challenges. However, the government rejects the opposition's demands, stating that installing a caretaker government would be unconstitutional. The international community expresses concerns over the escalating tensions, with Amnesty International highlighting the need for people to freely protest and the United States calling for free and participatory elections. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky issues a warning, stating that war is approaching Russia following the attack of 3 Ukrainian drones over Moscow. The 3 Ukrainian drones caused damage to 2 office towers and briefly closed an international airport. Zelensky declares that the conflict is gradually returning to Russia's territory, emphasizing Ukraine's growing strength.
Російська агресія зазнала банкрутства на полі бою. Сьогодні вже 522-й день, як триває так звана Спеціальна воєнна операція, яку російське керівництво розраховувало на тиждень-два. Україна стає міцніше. Поступово війна повертається на територію Росії, до її символічних центрів та військових баз. І це неминучий, природній та абсолютно справедливий процес.
He expresses a level of confidence in acknowledging attacks inside Russia, which is a departure from Kyiv's typical approach of not admitting responsibility for such actions. Russia has previously claimed that Ukraine launched other similar attacks using drones, including an attack on the Moscow Kremlin. Ukrainian officials say that Saudi Arabia is preparing to host a summit discussing Ukraine's 10-point peace plan. Andriy Yermak, Zelensky's chief of staff, said that officials from 30 countries were invited to take part in the summit on August 5 and 6 in the city of Jeddah. Ukrainian and Western officials hope the efforts could culminate in a peace summit later this year, where global leaders would sign a joint statement for resolving the war this year. Yermak said on the messaging application Telegram that discussions on the 10-point peace plan would tackle fundamental points, implementation, and the construction of mechanisms to counter future conflicts in the world. He added that the meeting in Saudi Arabia is a follow-up from a gathering of senior officials in the Danish capital of Copenhagen earlier this year. The countries that attended the initial meeting included Brazil, India, Turkey, and South Africa. Arab nations have largely remained neutral over the Russia-Ukraine conflict, in part over their military and economic ties to Moscow. Saudi Arabia also has maintained a close relationship with Russia as part of the OPEC Plus group. Russian President Vladimir Putin finished meetings in St. Petersburg over the weekend with African leaders about their own proposed plan. However, no details on the plan have been released. Russian President Vladimir Putin states that an initiative presented by the African leaders could serve as a basis for peace in Ukraine. However, President Putin emphasizes that attacks from Kyiv have made a cessation of hostilities impossible. President Putin makes a statement after the Russia-Africa summit. He acknowledges that a ceasefire is challenging due to Ukraine's strategic offensive, but he believes the African initiative, like China's previous proposal, could lay the groundwork for peaceful resolutions. He further says that Russia does not reject peace talks, but both sides need to agree for the process to begin. Kyiv nonetheless rejects the African plan, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also opposes the ceasefire.
Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto denounces Italy's joining of China's Belt and Road Initiative, claiming that his country made an improvised and atrocious decision. Crosetto claimed the initiative had done little to boost Italy's exports, making China the only winner. Italy became the first developed economy to join the BRI in 2019 in a move highly criticized by its Western allies. The global investment program envisions connecting China with Europe and beyond by rebuilding the old Silk Road trade route. Under it, China provides funding for major infrastructure projects around the world in a bid to speed Chinese goods to markets further. He said Italy now needs to work out how to get out of the deal without damaging relations with Beijing. Exports to Italy have increased dramatically, but they have not worked in the country's favor, citing that the agreement did not have the same effect on the Italian economy. There has been intense discussion about whether Italy should remain in the BRI since May, when Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said she wanted talks with China about possibly withdrawing. Beijing has since launched a diplomatic campaign to try to persuade Italy to renew the deal by sending senior officials to the country to lobby its case. It is set to be automatically renewed in March 2024 unless Italy makes a formal request to withdraw from it by December this year.
Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen is pushing for government intervention in special situations, such as cases where countries, cultures, and religions are being persecuted. The Danish government will try to find legal means that will enable authorities to intervene with acts that persecute extreme religious persecutions in front of embassies in Denmark. Rasmussen stresses that the religious text burnings were deeply offensive and reckless acts committed by few individuals and not representative of the values the Danish society is built on. This month, far-right activists have carried out a number of public burnings of religious texts in front of the Iraqi, Egyptian, and Turkish embassies in the Danish capital. Denmark and Sweden have found themselves in the international spotlight in recent weeks following protests where holy books have been damaged, burned, or defaced. In a separate statement, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said he had been in close contact with his Danish counterpart, Mette Frederiksen, stating that a similar proposal was making its way through the courts.
När det gäller den senare utspelet så är det svårt att säga vilka konsekvenser det får. Jag tycker att det är många som har skäl att besinna sig nu. Det är klart att det är helt oacceptabelt med människor som olagligt tar sig in på svenska ambassader i andra länder. Jag tycker också vi ska besinna oss i Sverige. Det är ett allvarligt säkerhetspolitiskt läge. Det finns ingen anledning att förolämpa andra människor.
The public burnings in the Scandinavian countries have sparked widespread outrage across Muslim-majority countries, with Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, Iran, Morocco, Qatar, and Yemen lodging protests in response. Sweden and Denmark have denounced these acts, but have stopped short of ordering its prevention, as they see it fall under their Freedom of Expression Act.
Det är klart att det är mycket bättre att ha en god relation med andra länder i sådana här situationer. Men jag tror det är omöjligt att säga just nu. Jag sa som jag sa häromdagen, jag tycker man ska vara... Det är ett allvarligt läge. Värna svenska nationella säkerhetsintressen. Det är åtminstone det som jag kommer att ha fokus på.
The son of Colombian President Gustavo Petro, Nicolas Petro, and his ex-wife, Daisuris Vasquez, attend a hearing after being arrested on charges of money laundering and illicit enrichment. This in a scandal linked to Petro's election campaign. Jane Kathleen Gregorio has the details.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro's son, Nicolas, was arrested Saturday on charges of money laundering and illicit enrichment. Colombia's first leftist president wrote on Twitter that police arrested his son and his son's ex-wife, Daisuris Vasquez. Security agents arrested Nicolas, 37-year-old Petro, and Vasquez in the coastal city of Barranquilla. They were brought to the capital city of Bogota. Prosecutors said the two were secured under heavy guard at a bunker awaiting a court hearing. Petro wrote on Twitter, and these are his words, "I wish my son luck and strength. May these events build his character, and may he reflect on his mistakes." Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
West African countries take action against Niger's new military leaders, imposing sanctions and threatening to use force.
In the event the authorities' demands are not met within 1 week, take all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. Such measures may include the use of force.
The Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, also demands Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum's reinstatement within a week. General Abdurrahman Etiani, the head of Niger's powerful presidential guard, declared himself leader and holds Bazoum in military custody. France, the European Union, and the United States have also suspended security cooperation and financial aid to Niger. The situation in the capital, Niamey, remains tense, with thousands of supporters of the coup rallying outside the national parliament and the French embassy. President Joe Biden signs an order transforming the way the U.S. military investigates sexual assault cases. Arlene Ocampo reports.
President Joe Biden signs an executive order that shifts power away from unit commanders to independent prosecutors when it concerns sexual assault cases in the military. The White House says the order puts the cap on years of pressure from victims' advocates to ensure better accountability within the ranks. This, despite resistance to change from the military top brass. Congress passed a law requiring the shift in 2021. The said law's implementation began Friday. With the president's signature, Biden transfers key decision-making powers from military commanders to independent military prosecutors in cases of sexual assault, domestic violence, and murder, among which is deciding whether or not to lodge charges of serious crimes. The White House calls it the most significant transformation of the military justice system since it was established in 1950. It ensures that cases will be fully independent from the chain of command. In Washington, D.C., Arlene Ocampo from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
New documents chronicling the October 2019 U.S. military raid against the founder of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, now reveal flaws in Washington's claims back in the day. Then President Donald Trump praised the operation, claiming that no civilians had been harmed in the skirmish, but locals have claimed otherwise. Now, the Pentagon released a redacted copy of the raid debrief under the Freedom of Information Act, which tells a very different story. Syrians claim that U.S. airstrikes actually did kill and maim civilians. A witness said that he lost two of his friends who were giving him a ride home after work at an olive oil press. The military report says after the airstrikes hit the van, with the pilot thinking there were explosions from the van, which could mean it was carrying explosives or weapons, and the pilot fired a rocket at the men as they fled. The Pentagon states that troops could not confirm what caused the explosions, as well as whether U.S. forces made contact with the airstrike survivor, not confirming whether they were militants or civilians. A part of the document also shows that given the high visibility of this strike and allegation, it recommends the military provide a top-secret document that further characterizes the individuals killed and injured as unlawful enemy belligerents. The Department of National Defense released a statement that their troops acted reasonably in the heat of the moment and still rely on the initial judgment troops made during the fog of the war.
Up next, North Korean defector Yeonmi Park faces widespread criticism over her memoir's inconsistencies. The hunt is on for Uruguayan drug boss Marcet Cabrera. And hundreds of casualties occurred as a bomb went off in northwest Pakistan. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Art. And I'm PJ. Tara, samahan niyo kami. Listen to our school's podcast. At pag-usapan natin ang mga issues na mahalaga para sa ating mga teenagers. Let's create art together in... Dito lang sa Net 25.
$10,000 liters of water with high levels of arsenic leaked on a drilling site in Hokkaido, Japan. Mitsui Oil Exploration Company said that about 10,000 liters of tainted water in a reservoir overflowed in a forest owned by the Hokkaido prefectural government. The Japanese company transferred the tainted water after the incident to another location. Company officials reported the overflow volume of water accounts for 0.5% and has been released in the form of steam every day. They added that the arsenic levels in water leaks were lower than the amount permitted for agricultural used water. Officials determined to have a site inspection as the tainted water also leaks earlier this month.
Tokyo District Court sentenced a 26-year-old man to 23 years in prison for his knife and arson attack on a train in Tokyo in 2021. Kyoto Hattori was accused of attempting to murder 13 passengers on the rapid train on Keio Corporation's Keio line by stabbing or setting fire to the train car. Public prosecutors had sought 25 years in prison in the trial, while the defense had argued that Hattori deserves a sentence of 12 years because the act of arson does not constitute attempted murder. In the incident, Hattori stabbed a passenger in his 70s in the right chest, as well as poured a lighter fuel toward the 12 others and set it on fire with a Zippo lighter while the train was traveling in the city of Chofu. Trucks that Armenia says are delivering humanitarian aid to the breakaway region of Nagorno-Karabakh are stuck not far away from an Azerbaijani checkpoint set up at the entry of Alachin corridor. JC Yumol has more.
The Lachin corridor is the only road linking Armenia with the breakaway Nagorno-Karabakh region inside Azerbaijan. Tensions escalated earlier in the month when Azerbaijan temporarily shut the Lachin corridor. This sparks concern over a humanitarian crisis in the region, experiencing shortage of food, medicine, and power supplies. The region is Armenian populated. It has been at the center of decades-long territorial dispute between the Caucasus arc foes. Armenia and Azerbaijan have fought 2 wars over the mountainous territory. The International Committee of Red Cross called on authorities of Armenia and Azerbaijan to allow humanitarian operations in the area. The 5-kilometer-wide Lachin corridor is policed by Russian peacekeeper to ensure peace passage between Armenia and Karabakh. JC Yumul for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Celebrity North Korean defector Yeonmi Park, who gained stardom in 2014, is still receiving criticism regarding her stories of North Korea, with some journalists questioning their accuracy. Catherine Ortula has the details.
It was in 2014 when the world came to know Yeonmi Park. She and her family had fled North Korea in 2007, moved to China, then to South Korea, before finally settling down in the United States in 2014 at the age of 21, where she quickly rose to stardom with her stories of North Korean oppression. Park became a star YouTuber, an American conservative activist, and an author. Her 2015 memoir, In Order to Live, A North Korean Girl's Journey to Freedom, has sold over 100,000 copies. But her shocking tales under the brutal North Korean regime, which often leaves her audience in tears, is still a subject of widespread skepticism even 9 years later after her world stage debut. As early as 2014, when Park made the famous speech at the One Young World Summit in Dublin, Ireland, the diplomats Marianne Jolly opened an investigation in Park after previously working with her for a documentary, and alleged that many of her claims about her life in North Korea are contradictory and false. Now, The Washington Post, where Park also previously contributed articles, published this month a piece that also questions Park's credibility. Will Summers' extensive report claims that many of the 29-year-old's stories about North Korea are embellished or fabricated. An excerpt from the Post says, while Park's moral authority as political pundit rests on her experience as a refugee from an authoritarian pariah state, she has been dodged for years by accusations that some of her more lurid tales of state vengeance and extreme societal decay don't add up. Scholars on North Korea, who who are skeptical of Park say she's symptomatic of a booming market for horror stories from the cloistered nation that they believe encourages some celebrity defectors to spin increasingly outlandish claims. Yeonmi Park first broke out in the spotlight on South Korean hit TV series Now On My Way to Meet You, which recounts the lives of defectors. It was also there that her co-stars had dubbed her as Paris Hilton of North Korea, as she told them of her family's relative wealth and of a lifestyle accessorized with imported Japanese fashion and Chanel bags. Meanwhile, Park continues to be a critic of the concepts of political correctness and woke culture in the United States and denies accusations against her, attributing the discrepancies in her North Korean tales to imperfect memory and limited English skills. Catherine Ertula, reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Bolivia has mobilized over 2,200 security agents to capture a wanted cocaine trafficker who has managed to elude capture. Jay Suarez reports.
The target is Sebastian Enrique Marcet Cabrera. Marcet Cabrera is wanted on drug charges in his native Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil, and the United States. Bolivian Interior Minister Eduardo del Castillo says a series of raids have been carried out in the Department of Santa Cruz in search of Cabrera. He says they have carried out more than 23 operations, 6 raids, and the arrest of 12 people. Marcet Cabrera is believed to be in Santa Cruz, a sprawling energy-producing region of southeastern Bolivia abutting Brazil and Paraguay. The drug boss is said to be in his early 30s. Del Castillo says Marcet Cabrera is with his Peruvian wife and 3 children. Jay Suarez, for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In Thailand, the death toll from a powerful explosion that leveled an unlicensed fireworks warehouse rose to at least 10 on Sunday, with 2 more unidentified remains. This after authorities confirmed the news on Sunday, where more than 100 people were injured in the blast, with hundreds of homes also seriously damaged. The blast happened on Saturday afternoon in the town of Sungai Kolok. The blast detonated roughly 1,000 kilograms of gunpowder, leaving 2 holes roughly 2 meters deep and 6 meters wide. Authorities sought the owner on charges of negligence, where they received 365 complaints from those who had been injured or who had their homes and property damaged, including government offices and private schools. Investigations into the enormous blast are underway, with initial findings suggesting it came from a welding accident.
At least 44 people have been killed and dozens more wounded Sunday by a bombing at a political gathering of a leading Islamic party in northwest Pakistan. All the wounded have arrived at a hospital in Peshawar. The blast targeted the Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam F or JUIF party as hundreds of supporters congregated under a canopy in the town of Khar near the Afghan border. JUIF is a government coalition partner led by an influential firebrand cleric. A witness who tried to help the victims says the tent collapsed on one side and trapped people who were desperately attempting to escape. He says there was confusion with human flesh, limbs, and body parts scattered throughout the area alongside dead bodies. Health Minister for Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province confirmed Sunday that 44 people had been killed and over 100 wounded. The health official says that the bomber armed detonated the explosive strapped to himself in close proximity to the stage. Images from the tragedy circulating on social media show bodies strewn around the scene and volunteers helping blood-soaked victims to ambulances.
In the United States, a bear is caught bathing in a swimming pool in the backyard of a house in California. Burbank Police Department reported that the bear was splashing around, beating the heat before it fled over a nearby wall and climbed up a tree. Different parts of the U.S. are hit by extreme heat, with temperatures breaking records across states. Weather forecasts say across 29 states are under heat alerts from Southern California to Massachusetts, with highs reaching near 90 degrees.
Oh, you guys, give me a grin.
Coming right up, a big change is coming for the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Max Verstappen wins the Belgian Grand Prix with a dominant run. And Taylor Swift fans cause record-breaking seismic activity. Catch more news in business, tech, sports, and entertainment when we return.
We're in the sky. Kaya lumilipad na naman tayo. Sino ba itong uupo ngayon sa ating iconic chairs?
Finally, nag-guess na rin ako dito. Just canceled everything for you.
Talaga, ay naku, nakakatuwa naman. Medyo kakaiba ang ating papasukin ngayong araw. The Goodwill Resort with the Goodwill Cast. Woo! Tinur niya tayo sa kanyang bagong
Mundo.
Tamang-tama, pinag-uusapan sila ng lahat ngayon. Tingnan ka!
Ayan na.
Ayan na. Alam mo talaga siya, no? Yes! Tatlong buwan! Kinasal ka na! Yes! Ngayon natin malalaman ang totoo. So now, let's spill the coffee.
Spill the coffee.
Yes. And we're here at Net25. Ito ang tahanan ng Corina Interviews.
Texas Commission on Environmental Quality claims that SpaceX had not obtained the permit needed to use its flame deflector system used in rocket launches. Experts say the water used for the technology may contain pollutants that could enter the ecosystem around the SpaceX launch site, including those in the Gulf of Mexico. The Environmental Commission's representative, however, clarifies that there is no determination if the tech firm had broken environmental law. Last week, physicist Jeff Baumgartner claimed that a SpaceX launch in earlier July punched a hole in the Earth's ionosphere. X now definitely marks a spot for the social media platform previously known as Twitter. A big X was installed on the roof of the company's headquarters in San Francisco. Owner Elon Musk did away with the world-recognized Bluebird logo last week. He replaces it with a white X in his effort to rebrand the company. The move is one of the latest in a series of changes that shocked many since Musk took over the social media giant 9 months ago. Aside from the logo, Musk is also changing the company's name from Twitter to X.
On Sunday, Red Bull's Max Verstappen made light of a 5-place grid penalty to reel off an 8th consecutive victory at the Belgian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc was third for Ferrari ahead of Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton, who clocked the fastest lap. Despite starting from 6th place, Verstappen finished 22.3 seconds ahead of teammate Sergio Perez to give Red Bull an easy 1-2. It moved Verstappen ominously closer to a 3rd straight world title and his own F1 record of 15 wins from last year. Red Bull, meanwhile, extended its record to 13 straight wins, including the final race of last season. Verstappen is 125 points ahead of Perez after just 12 races, where his next target is matching Sebastian Vettel's F1 record of 9 straight wins with a victory at the Dutch Grand Prix, when the lopsided season resumes on August 27. 3 years since the pandemic, the national multi-sporting event Palarong Pambansa 2023 has officially begun, with the city of Marikina serving as host. In spite of the bad weather, the opening ceremony still commenced, featuring the theme Batang Malakas, Bansang Matatag. With over 9,000 athletes across 17 regions, elementary and high school students will compete for 5 days in different sporting events. The Palarong Pambansa has officially opened with the lighting of the Friendship Cauldron, with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Vice President and DepEd Secretary Sara Duterte present in the crowd. Meanwhile, athletes and delegates of the 2023 Palarong Pambansa will also receive free LRT2 rides until August 5. The games will be televised on Net 25 as the official carrying station of the 2023 National Games, starting tomorrow, August 1, until August 8. Twitter returns the account of Kanye West after suspending it for over 8 months. The rapper violated the social media platform rules that prohibits the incitement of violence. However, his account and posts are not eligible for monetization and ad placements. Ye's account was suspended in December after his post showed the swastika symbol inside a Star of David. Elon Musk tagged West's post as an incitement to violence. Musk received a message from the rapper and reassured that he would not use or post anti-Semitic or harmful language. He welcomed the return of Kanye West to the platform after his account was back. The iconic orange tabby cat arrives in Manila to celebrate his birthday. Vin Pascua has the report.
Exactly 45 years ago, cartoonist Jim Davis published his first ever comic of the iconic orange cat Garfield in 41 newspapers across the United States. The 3-panel comic strip shows a man in a blue shirt with brown hair introducing himself as John Arbuckle, a cartoonist with his cat Garfield. Garfield would go on to inspire the hit cartoon show Garfield and Friends from the late 1980s and early 1990s, along with 2 animated Garfield movies from the early 2000s. Here in Manila, Garfield celebrates his special day with teens and kids yesterday with a theme, It's a Cat's Life. The favorite lasagna enthusiast and napping influencer is taking center stage and greeting his Filipino fans. We asked some teens and kids, why is this cat so lovable?
He's a hardworking orange cat. We love Garfield because he sleeps a lot. Yeah, he's lazy.
I feel like I relate to him. Na lazy siya. And I just feel like may connection ako with Garfield.
Even man si Garfield, hindi niya masyadong napapakita na he cares about John and Odie. I feel like he still does. And I think I relate to that a lot because I have trouble showing my love and care for others.
There's also a limited edition Garfield art toys created by talented Filipino toy artists and creators for this milestone. The event is hosted by Stephanie Lucero.
I don't know a person in my batch who does not know Garfield. Garfield for me is an attitude. He's such a character and icon. Even if he is, a lot of people know him as a lazy, mahilig mag-rest and relaxation, loves the weekend. But honestly, he is very authentic and I love that about him.
Meanwhile, in 2024, Garfield will be seen in cinemas across the world in a computer-animated film. The movie will feature Chris Pratt as the voice of Garfield. Vin Pascua, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Earth-shattering, Taylor Swift fans caused record-breaking seismic activity during a recent Seattle show. Fans of Taylor Swift literally registered a 2.3 magnitude earthquake after 2 nights of dancing at a Swift's Eras Tour concert at Lumen Field, Seattle. This was confirmed by seismologist Jackie Kaplan Auerbach, a geology professor at Western Washington University. Called the Swift Quake, the seismic activity triggered by the Swifties' earth-shattering dancing on July 22 and 23 has been compared to the Beast Quake in 2011 when Seattle Seahawks fans erupted in excitement after a touchdown by running back Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch, which registered less than 0.3 magnitude compared to the swift quake. According to Kaplan Auerbach, in her reports to the media, the primary difference between the two incidents is the duration of the shaking. That in the Taylor Swift concert, she collected about 10 hours of data where rhythm controlled the behavior. She added that the energy from the music, the speakers, and the beat can drive into the ground and shake it. The professor also clarified to the media that the incident was not a regular quake, but just the ground shaking.
In France, vehicles of more than 70 brands from the 19th century to the 90s parade in the 16th edition of Traversée de Paris. The event comes with a gathering of numerous vintage vehicle owners to showcase their 30-year-old and above automobiles. This year's edition is themed Capital Squares, a subject explored at the event's 14th edition in 2021. Organizers say the event started at 8 in the morning from the forecourt of the Château de Vincennes towards the Jardin de l'Observatoire in Moudon. A speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour was also advised during the crossing of the capital. That felt like Monday.
Yeah.
It did, didn't it?
Well, happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday, everyone. And to kick off the week, here's a quote from American cartoonist and creator of our lasagna-loving cat, Garfield, whom I love so much, Jim Davis. An imagination is a powerful tool. It can tint memories of the past, shade perceptions of the present, or paint a future so vivid that it can entice or terrify, all depending upon how we conduct ourselves today.
I think that sometimes we're afraid to use our imagination because of all the different thoughts and ideas that we go through, but we should take advantage of that creativity.
That is true because the possibilities are so endless.
I agree. They
So don't start late at night.
Yeah.
That's what I advise you to not do.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.